come to the core debate or discussion that we'll have, which is on the bilateral context between India and Nepal. And this is a very complex relationship. I think Mrs. Miriam Malik referred to BP Koirala having been born here, and the very close relationship and association that Nepalese leaders and politicians have had with India. But my sense is that at least the elite in Nepal, if they won't say so openly or publicly, but they feel a little overwhelmed by India. And the fact that they are surrounded by India on three sides, the fact that India is, I don't know how many times bigger than Nepal in terms of population, in terms of geography, the fact that their access to the rest of the world is largely through India, because in the north they're bounded by the Himalayas. And while of course the Himalayas can be crossed, but not in any significant manner, not in the way that the Nepalese have access to the rest of the world through Indian ports, for instance. And even in terms of culture, language, religion, there are a lot of similarities between Nepal and India. So the elite in Nepal has always felt a little uncomfortable with India. And theirs has been a quest for an assertion of their national identity. What is it? What does it mean to be a Nepali? What is unique about Nepal? What is it that makes Nepal, a sovereign country? And so things like, Buddha was born in Nepal, or Mount Everest in Nepal, are very critical markers of their national identity. And if some Indian actress or somebody were to say that the Buddha is Indian, or there will be a huge protests in Nepal. And this happened. Our foreign minister Jaishankar had made some innocent remark somewhere at some conference, and there was a formal protest from the foreign ministry. So this is something that I think Indians should understand, and I'm not sure we do. So we keep saying there's such a lot in common. आप तो हमारे ही जैसे हैं, सब मिलता जुलता है, एक ही हैं हम. And that, not to the general people, but to the elite of Nepal, I think they find it patronizing and they resent it. So they really cherish their sovereignty and independence. And if you see all their statements, every leader is always talking about preserving sovereignty, independence. Whenever there's any prime ministerial visit to Nepal, it's very interesting. The one thing that everyone says is, don't go and sign anything that is against our interest. You would normally put it positively that, aap Hindustan ja rahe hain, so please, get something for Nepal. But here it's always that there is a sense that, they will be shortchanged in any deal with India. So I think this psychology is very important to remember. And I have told all our leaders, everyone that I interacted with, aap mat kahiye ye sab. रोटी बेटी वगैरह बहुत important चीजें हैं, उनको कहने दीजिए. Because if you say so, they find it a little patronizing. And because what we are saying is, we are the mother culture. Everything has gone from us. Even in Southeast Asia, I was in Vietnam or Indonesia. If you say everything has gone from you, you're the mother culture, so the other people feel a little small. And that's also not true, because this has been an interactive process over centuries. So you can't claim that, or even if it's true, why say it? Because the other person feels uncomfortable, because as far as they are concerned, it's theirs. So in Nepal, for instance, so many things they'll say, ye hamara Nepali hai. And it's exactly the same as in India. So I think this psychological perspective is very, very important to keep in mind while dealing with a country like Nepal. The other thing about Nepal, it's a very diverse country. So it's, what is our image of Nepal? A beautiful country of mountains, are the Nepalese that we meet in India. In Banaras, of course, you met great intellectuals and literators and very eminent people. But the majority of the people in India, who are the Nepalese you meet with? You would meet with Bahadurs, or you would meet with people working in the hospitality industry. You meet people who are working at relatively low levels. And so you have certain prejudices and preconceived notions. Every Nepali is a Bahadur. They're very loyal. They're not very bright. So these are the perceptions that including our leaders. I mean, we had a case where very senior politician from Nepal was meeting very senior political leader, and the political leader said, something, my leader, the closest associates he has are Nepalese, and who were they? They turned out to be his helpers in the house, and so this poor lady from Nepal was really squirming. So we genuinely say that out of good feeling. But for the Nepalese, this is very, it's humiliating in a sense, and they don't like. So I think this sensitivity is something, and I've spoken about this, in my book. In fact, the first question that Prime Minister Modi had taken over, and very early in his, I think after a month he came to Nepal. Before his visit, I was meeting him, and the first, not this time, sorry, this was after the earthquake. We had done a lot of work, and he said, despite all this, why is there so much opposition to India? The question he asked was, why don't they like us? So, the first chapter of my book, I'm really trying to explain what is the psychology of the India-Nepal relationship. There are other reasons also. We can go into that later, but I think this psychology of the relationship is very, very important, to realize. And like India searches for strategic autonomy, Nepal also searches for strategic autonomy. Because of India's sort of, claustrophobic embrace, they want to break away from it. They want more space for themselves. They want more strategic autonomy. And this is where China comes in, the United States comes in, other countries come in, basically to balance this overarching influence and presence of India. So the other relationships are really, in a sense, to expand Nepal's leeway, freedom of action, options. Not that it makes any significant difference, because you can't really overturn geography. But psychologically, I think that gives them a certain comfort level. And the problem arises always because the India-China relationship is so brittle that we tend to look at Nepal's relationship or any of our South Asians' relationship with China from the lens of the India-China relationship. And they have a very different attitude towards China, very different from India's attitude. In fact, some of them, especially at least Nepal, might feel, threatened is a very big word, I don't want to use it, but they would want to balance India with China. So I think this is another aspect that we need to be aware of and examine how we are going to address it. The third aspect